To the members of the public, I just want to inform you that we're about to start the live stream, and because you're the closest to the camera, any chatter that you're having will be recorded as part of the record. Starting now.
No problem with that. I can't hear.
Okay, yeah, she runs that building. Okay, I'm good.
You're right. It's very efficient. Yeah.
It's standing outside looking crazy.
So Mr. Mitchell is on his way, so when he gets here, we can go ahead and start chair claim. He literally told me he's walking over.
Walking over now? Okay. Well, thank you all so very much for attending the Children's Services Council.
Wait, we're gonna wait on him.
No quorum.
We technically have 5 of 9, and that is a quorum. And then we will be installing our new person, which will make us 6 of 10.
Six, all right.
So are we good? Okay. No, we don't. We're good.
So can we start? I'm just worried about the 2 o'clock hard stop.
Oh, it's live stream? Yes.
Are we good?
Can I just want to check it to be sure. The live stream to make sure that it's coming through.
It's coming.
Yep, we are good.
Okay.
You're good, Chair.
All right, I have 1:02 PM and I am calling our Children's Services Council meeting to order. So thank you all so very much for being in attendance. I do want to let all of our guests know, thank you so very much for joining our meeting today. If you do want to make a public comment, please make sure you complete a public comment card. Because this is going to be a short meeting, we will have to stop right at 2 o'clock. So I will ask you to please keep your comments brief. You will be asked very politely to cut off right at 2 minutes. So I just wanted to remind you all of that, to please keep your comments brief. Also, I want to let the audience know, because we are in this room, if you do chat amongst yourselves, the microphones are live. It will pick up your conversation. So just wanted to keep you all in mind of that. And with that, we are going to move on to agenda item number 2, the installation of our new council member, Judge Anthony Miller. We are honored to have here with us Judge Carroll, who is going to swear him in. So I'm going to ask you to please stand. And I will ask Judge Carroll if you would please do us the honors of swearing in Judge Miller.
Happily. I state your name.
I, Anthony Miller,
A citizen of the state of Florida
a citizen of the state of Florida
and of the United States of America,
and of the United States of America,
do hereby solemnly swear or affirm
do hereby solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and government of the United States
the Constitution and government of the United States
and of the state of Florida,
and of the state of Florida,
that I am duly qualified to hold office
that I am duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution of the state,
under the Constitution of the state,
and that I will well and faithfully perform
and that I will well and faithfully perform
the duties of council member
the duties of council member
of the Children's Services Council
of the Children's Services Council
of Leon County,
of Leon County,
which I'm now about to enter.
on which I am now about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Awesome. Judge Miller, thank you and welcome so very much. And I'm going to ask you to take a seat. Do we have a spot for him? Okay, right over there by our council. So thank you. All right.
I heard the applause. What's my cue?
We just
Right on
brought in
time.
our new council member, Judge Miller, who will be joining us in just a
Would you
second.
look at that?
All right, well, y'all have a great meeting. I've got to go sound a docket.
Hi.
Judge Carroll.
We appreciate you, Judge Carroll. And welcome once again, Judge Miller. We appreciate you being here. Thank you. Awesome. All right, well, it looks like we're ready for roll call because everybody ran in at the same time. So with that, Ms. Clay, will you please call roll for us?
Yes, Mr. Mitchell,
Here.
Connor, Commissioner Cummings,
Present.
Superintendent Hannah,
Present.
Board Chair Jones,
Present.
Ms. McFadden, Mr. O'Brien,
Here.
Mr. Watts,
Present.
Judge Miller,
Here.
Dr. Glenn.
Present. Thank you very much. All right, let's get started. So the first item of business we want to do is to approve the agenda. So I hope all of you have had an opportunity to review the agenda. And do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
And I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion by Board Member Jones and second by Mr. Mitchell. So the agenda is now approved. All right, we are now ready for public comment. So Ms. Clay, I will ask you to call the names of the individuals. Once again, I will remind you all to please keep your comments at 2 minutes. We do have a hard stop at 2 o'clock, so I'm trying to make sure we get through the agenda. So we will begin with the public comments.
All right, first public comment will come from Erwin Jackson.
Erwin Jackson, 1341 Jackson Bluff, if you need an address. I came here to speak about the rate that we're currently going to be charged on property taxes and millage rate. And I've got a couple thoughts on that. I go to a few city commission meetings, and one thing I hear all the time is there's no affordable housing, there's no affordable housing. Well, seems that someone's missing the relationship between affordable housing and increasing property taxes. You increase my property taxes, then the students, young folks, the tenants of mine that are living in my houses are going to end up paying that. I'm not going to pay that. They are. So there seems to be a contradiction here. We need affordable housing, but we keep raising our property taxes. A few years ago, I bought a little stove, regular electric stove, nothing fancy about it. $420. I bought one just yesterday, $825. Okay, in 4 years, the stove is up 100%. Well, that's not going to do much for affordable housing. We've got another problem. They said here, this organization currently already has sitting in a checking account around $4.8 million. Okay, with the inflation we're stuck with the lack of affordable housing, with the economic condition that we have now, and it's going to get worse, there's no justification to raise 8%. And give that burden to citizens, and primarily it's going to hit the individuals who are renting, because people in rental property, we tax them at much higher rates on a home. So those who have less, we tax more, but that's a different argument. So I would strongly support that you reduce the millage rate to a 0.343.
Excuse me, sir.
Gives you
Sorry. We are at time.
$7 million, the same rate that you had this time last year.
Thank you very much for your comment. We really appreciate it. Thank you. And you will hear the time to remind you of the time. Ms. Clay, who's next?
Next public comment, Roger Henry.
Mr. Henry.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you, and I appreciate your attention. In regard to the proposed millage rate for fiscal year 22-23, I would ask you to adopt a portion of reducing the rate to 0.343. Please consider my 2 reasons. As we all know, inflation is currently affecting all of us at the gas pump, in the grocery store, and housing options. However, the impact is greater on those in the lower income brackets than on others. A higher millage rate will disproportionately impact the budget of the families or the very children you are directed to assist. While some of you may dismiss this idea by thinking, oh, most of these people just rent. Well, as already been pointed out, please remember the owners of these rental properties will simply pass the new rate on to those who rent from them. This increase will represent a larger proportion of income for the budget of the families you serve than families in higher income brackets. My second reason to consider lowering the rate, with all due respect, please honestly re-examine how you, the group, have managed the funds you've had at your disposal this past year in regard to the amount of funds available, how much was actually directly spent on services? Was that my shut up?
Yes, sir. Yes.
You won't believe what else I had to say.
Thank you very much, Mr. Henry. We appreciate you. Ms. Clay
Your next public comment is Mona Hamilton.
Hamilton.
Good afternoon. My name is Mona Hamilton. Using the Consumer Price Index as a measurement, a recent article states workers lost roughly $3,400 in yearly income due to inflation in the past 18 months. And recently, a financial expert stated, our economy is tanking and 2/3 of Americans do not have even $500 saved. I'm here today asking you to please vote to lower the millage rate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hamilton. Our next speaker,
Next public comment, Sharon Mears.
Mayor.
Hello, my name is Sharon Mears, and I am here to respectfully request that you lower the millage rate. With the increase in value of properties that have been sold within the last year or year and a half, there will be additional revenues coming in to the city, possibly to you too. You've only been in existence not quite a year, and to think that we're already even considering asking for more money, when we have no metrics to show us, the citizens, what money is being spent on, what the money is being spent for. I think it is incumbent upon you to, as a committee, to present those items to the citizens of Tallahassee before you ever even consider increasing the millage rate. And decreasing it would certainly help because of the increase in property values during this last year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mears. Next public comment.
Next public comment, Letitia Bevis.
My name is Letitia Beavis. And I would respectfully ask that you do lower the millage rate because of the increase in the homes that have been sold around Tallahassee. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Beavis. We appreciate it. Next public comment.
Next public comment, Barney Bishop III.
Bishop.
Can we pass this?
I'm just gonna wait till everybody gets, what's being passed out.
That's good for staff.
Okay, so my name is Barney Bishop, 2215 Thomasville Road. I've been here to speak to you before. I'm here to speak to you today to ask you to keep the millage rate at the lower rate, the 3.43 rate. Yesterday, some of you all were at an Economic Club of Florida luncheon. You heard that 70% of the people in America think that we're going into a recession. Jerry Parrish, former chief economist for the Florida Chamber of Commerce and for Florida Tax Watch, indicates that he believes it's a 67% chance of us going into a recession. That's 2/3 chance. Raising taxes by not lowering the tax rate, when you've got $4.8 million already in the bank, you started with 6.9, you spent $2 million, the money's just burning a hole in your pocket. You had to spend $1 million without even a gap analysis, which is a fatal flaw to begin with. And I predicted this a year ago when you guys got started. I was against the campaign to begin with. I support you now if you make the right decisions. The right decision is not to raise taxes when a recession is coming down the pike. And when people are hurting and companies are still having a hard time finding employees, it is absolutely ludicrous and absurd for you to think about even keeping the tax rate at what it is now. You have more than enough money. Wait for that gap analysis to come in and then use that to figure out how to spend the money. Don't just keep piling more money on it, because that's what some people do, but that's not the smart way to do it. Save the taxpayers a little bit of money. They'll very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bishop. Next speaker. Slide.
Next speaker, Rick Lockenbach.
Afternoon, council members. I haven't heard anybody talk about our kids are in crisis, and that needs to be consideration number one. I'm mindful of the additional revenue and additional costs associated with keeping the millage at the current rate, but I would ask you to some of the data points that are in your needs assessment point to what kind of shape our kids are in this community. Even not considering that, read the newspaper every day or tune into the news every day. Every other day, you'll find that somebody's shooting somebody else in this community. We can do something about that. This council can do a lot about it. Can make a lot of difference for those kids. They're our kids. They're not, maybe they live in another part of the community. We don't consider them to be our kids. Anatomy of suicide, the sheriff's office anatomy of a homicide told us who those individuals are that are committing those crimes. If they're a person of color, they're much more likely to either be a perpetrator or a victim. We can do something about that. You can do something about that. Other data points that are noted in your needs assessment include high levels of juvenile justice, juveniles that are being arrested, a higher rate than the state rate. Good that it's going down, but again, that's something that needs to be addressed. Again, this community needs to have all the resources we can, and I think you're on the right track in the research that you're doing with your needs assessment and what you will have in order to make good decisions about how these dollars will be prudently spent in an evidence-based manner so that we know that the dollars are being well spent. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lockenbach. Appreciate it. Our next public comment.
Next public comment, Kayla Norris Barber.
Mr. Barber.
Kayla Norris Barber, 527 West Brevard Street. I almost don't even say what I say because I appreciate everything that you said, because I sit here as I listen, I look around, I say, listen, I see all of these affluent people whose children probably don't need children council services. And I want you guys to remember that your job is to provide services to children who are in need. So round out the folks whose kids don't need the services, and all the people who are affluent, and do your job. Keep the millage rate where it is, because if you reduce it, you will have a hell of a hard time raising it again if you lose it. So keep it where it is, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. Next public comment, please.
Public comment, Neil Skeen.
Oops, I must be last.
Mr. Skeen.
That jar has 365 nickels in it. And it's total tax I won't pay if you set the rate at 3/8 of a mil instead of the authorized half a mil. It's $18.50, I think is the number. If you own $1 million house, which is not what I own, the tax would be 35 cents a day instead of a nickel a day. I just don't think this is an amount that's going to change the lives of any taxpayer. The $2.5 million, those nickels and dimes and quarters represent from the taxpayers, represents $2.5 million for the children, who, as the last two speakers know, have just said, really need it. Now, we just celebrated a moon landing, 33 years, I think it is. I've come to think, after working in 2 child welfare agencies, that child welfare is not rocket science. It's a lot harder. You can predict what a rocket will do with a certain amount of force and gravity. You can't predict the way a child is going to react to the programs and the services that you apply to them. So glad that all, back to 10 of you are here, because I admire the work you've done with the needs analysis, with the planning. You're about to do a strategy session. It's just the kind of work we need, but children need investment. And that's what the voters, 2/3 of them almost, voted for in this community. That's not going to change my life, but those nickels can change a child's life. And I encourage you to go to the full $500,000, but certainly to keep the 3/8 that you now have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Skeen. Ms. Clay, do we have any other public comments?
Yeah, no more public comment at this time.
Comments. I do want to thank all of you for coming out and voicing your opinion today. It's very valued. We will definitely take your comments into consideration. Thank you very much. Okay, with that, let's move forward with our agenda. And with that, I would like for us to approve the consent agenda. All right, and do we have a second? All right, so we have a by Mr. Jones and a second by Mr. Terrence. And with that, the consent agenda is approved. Now, I would like to make one comment. We have a wonderful face that is new to me, and I'm really excited. And I did get to read in the report that we have Ms. Dina Snyder in our presence, who is the new DFO. And it is, please give me that definition again, Director
Director of Finance and Operations. I could let her.
Okay, awesome. Ms. Snyder, would you just take a few minutes and just let us know who you are?
Thank you so much. I am beyond excited to be joining this wonderful team. Like you stated, my name is Dina Snyder. I have lived in Tallahassee for 17 years now, and all of my work in the past 17 years has been in social services, dealing primarily with child welfare, early intervention services, and actually school supports and school improvements. So I am looking forward to joining the team and doing all that I can to help our community and make sure that we are successful. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you and welcome to the staff. We really appreciate your service. Thank you so much. All right. Great, very good. Thank you very much. All right, let's move forward. And we would like to move forward to our general counsel update. So with that, Mr. Rowe, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Sure, no updates.
No updates today. Well, we're being efficient today. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right, let's move forward to our committee reports. The first report is going to be our Finance and Budget Committee report, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you very, very much. The regular finance report goes in the consent agenda, and so if anybody had a question, thinking that is part of this, speak now or forever. Seeing no questions, I'll jump right into really what brings us here. We have put together a budget for the year. The finance committee met about a week, maybe a week and a half ago, and really struggled with the issue that the public comments have addressed. And I think we made a good decision. I think we made a good decision to bring forward two numbers. You'll remember where we were last year at this time. It could have been zero and it could have been $500,000. And many of you will remember that I was sort of on the lower side. I wasn't at zero, but I was sort of at the 0.25 because I wanted to bring in enough that we could cover our needs for the year. I didn't want to bring in too much. The council settled unanimously, I'll point out, on 0.375. And I think that was a fair number. The superintendent offered it as a compromise. I think it was a good compromise. Genuinely, I do, which is why I supported it. The same thing is true today. The numbers, it's funny, while we're sitting here, everybody was talking about the 0.343. I'm like, how do people find out about the 0.343? And I guess it's publicly noticed, and that's how we found about it. So good for you for taking the time to find out. Really what we have here is a decision to be made. And at our last board meeting, I sort of did an informal poll, but what do you want to do? And Judge Miller, I know you're not allowed to vote on this, but I'm still going to include you in this conversation, sir. It certainly seemed like the will of the board was to leave the millage rate at 0.375, which would generate more money for the council than we received last year. At the budget meeting, what I advocated for, and I appreciated the other board members being willing to bring it forward for the rest of your consideration, leaving the amount we generated the same and thereby reducing the millage rate. In the end, the same amount of money would come into the Children's Services Council. However, the millage rate would actually be reduced. It is not lost on me. One, and I appreciate Commissioner Cummings and Superintendent Hannah for allowing it to come forward for discussion, because it gives the people in this room outside of the council members something to address, not just 0.375. We don't like it. We want it to be more. We want it to be less. Really, give you something to address. And so that's really the question that's before us. I think all of the speakers made good points and were ones that the committee talked about. We do have real needs in this community. And there's this question of, if we pull more money in, whose pocket is it coming out of? That's a question for each one of us to answer. But there's no doubt that that the community and the folks that we're trying to make a difference in their life need additional resources. Some of those are financial. Some of that is sweat equity kind of resources and our time. And the decision that's really before the board is what's the right balance? And so that's it. There's really not much else to talk about. I'm happy to talk about the proposed budget for the year. We sort of had two meetings that you all should know about. One was a public meeting at the committee. There was a meeting between our CPA, Sika and Jacinta and myself, where it's nice to have Jacinta on my side. She is a tightwad, like I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. The fact that I did my very best to squeeze every penny and to question every penny that we're spending. And what is brought forward is a budget that I am comfortable with. And it has nothing to do with the millage rate. It is a budget that the Children's Services Council will need just to administer ourselves. The office space, the equipment that will fill that office space. Again, there is not one single expenditure on here that I didn't first question, and then we brought it to the budget committee, and that superintendent didn't also and scrutinize. So I feel comfortable with the budget as it stands. I'm happy to answer any questions on it. And I'm also comfortable with both numbers, the 0.375 and the 0.343, whatever that number is.
Okay.
So that's it, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. We're going to separate this into two different.
The 3.431 is the number that we would reduce the millage rate by. Where does that number come from?
That number comes from leaving the amount collected for this coming year, as we collected last year.
I would say the same, but we reduced the millage rate.
Yes, sir.
To the 3.43 number.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
So thank you very much for that. So before we go into the budget, which you've already addressed, I do want to find out, did the budget committee make a recommendation for what the proposed millage rate should be?
We did not. We,
Okay.
yes, we did. We made the recommendation that we bring forward
Two
two
options.
numbers.
Okay, all right. So those two numbers are up for discussion. So before we get into actually having that discussion and making a vote, I would like to go to public comment. Do we have any additional public comments at this time?
We have no additional.
All right, I think we've heard it all already. Okay, all right. Thank you so very much for that. So I think it's time for us to make a decision about which way we want to vote to be able to approve whether or not we're going to stay with the 0.375, which increases the budget by how much, Mr. Mitchell?
$600,000.
Okay.
Since what?
$106,000 will come in additional.
$606,000 additional, or do we lower the millage rate to 0.343, which keeps us at the same amount of money that we currently have? So what I would like to do is, I liked what you did the last time and just kind of go around and see where everybody is at this moment. So
Chair
Yeah.
Glenn, if I may, just
Yes,
for
please.
clarification, remember that you would be approving a proposed
a proposed
millage rate.
okay.
Because we have to go through the trim hearing.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you very much for that. All right, so let's just go and see where we are and then see if we can come to a consensus with everybody. So, well, I'm gonna start with you, Mr. Mitchell, then I'll go this way. Are you voting towards keeping it at 0.375 or lowering it to 0.343?
I am exactly where I was last year, and that is if I were king for the day and I could make the decision on my own, it would be 0.343.
Okay.
I am a very big believer in the fact that all 10 of us have done, I think, a really good job coming together, beginning to tackle problems. And I love the fact that the other 9 of you have given me my moments to try to be the tightwad. And I'm comfortable with both. If I were king for the day, I would make it 0.343.
0.343, perfect. Thank you very much.
Chair Glenn.
Yes.
Chair, in this context, the approach to discussion is not by polling each individual member. Because that would be an unintended effect of the whole.
Okay.
So if I may, I'd like to move that we keep the millage rate the same at 0.375 for the coming fiscal year.
All right, so we have an offer on a proposal on the table to keep the millage rate at 0.375, and then it has been seconded by Mr. Jones. So do we vote right now, Mr. Rowe?
Now we can.
Thank you very much. All right, so let's discuss. All right, so the proposal on the table is to keep the same. Mr. Jones.
Well, the reason I think that we should keep it the same, I understand the intent of lowering it and keep the revenue at the same level. The same arguments that have been made by the persons who visited with us, who have made public comment, is the rising cost of inflation. If we were to lower the rate and to have the same level of money, if we talk about supply chain demands, we talk about the cost of inflation, everyone has talked ad nauseum about the high price of gas, and it's continuing spiraling upwards. So if we keep the revenue the same, then that means the impact is lessened because we have not taken into consideration the impacts of the monies that we'll be able to put forward. Here now, with this additional revenue being made available to us through the economic boom of rising property values, that means the persons that we have targeted to serve, who, by the way, we took a concession by coming to a lesser number than the 5% that was available to us. We provided that concession from the very beginning when we went with the 0.375. Here now, if we were to regress in that amount, the amount of monies that will be made available for programming and services is then ultimately its impact, its economic impact is diminished because of the same reasons for which we make the argument that we shouldn't increase it. So that's why I'm voting for 3.375.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jones.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Through our previous discussion, I was for lowering it on the basis that we were still bringing the same amount. And after hearing some of the discussions and different things that could result from that, I'm more now for the raising it to the 3.75 just because of all the other variables out there that is bigger than just, hey, we're going to lower it and we're gonna get the same amount, that's not really factoring in such things as, Mr. Jones referenced, some things that Liza referenced in the last meeting, so I would, yeah.
To keep it.
If it was just, there was no risk of that it would impact the, ability to serve, families down the road or whatnot, I would be for the 3.43, but I think there's more things that go into, it's not just black and white surface of, yeah, we're in the same amount. It's bigger than that, yeah.
Point made. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Yes, sir.
I wasn't here at the last meeting, but I hearken back to the reason why we're here. We're here to impact the lives of children and to give children a fighting chance in our community. And that's something that not all children have, at least not to an equal level across the board. And I think that's part of largely what we're doing. And I think we all recognize that the future of our community and the quality of life we have is largely defined by the opportunities we give our kids now. This is an investment. We have to recognize it's an investment. I recognize the inflationary impact of the economy. Healthcare is feeling it severely. Understand the expense management and revenue management side. There's a yin and a yang to everything. But I go back to why we are here. Quite frankly, it's like having a tractor in the field. We built this great big tractor. We have got this great John Deere that's in the field. But the tractor is only good if it's able to plow the field. Sitting in the field, just sitting there doesn't do anything. If we want to have value, we have to plow the field. And unfortunately, dollars that we have coming in are that's the only fuel source we have. I will tell you, as we build experience, as we look at what works and what doesn't work, I hope it's our intent to create a full tank. I get where we are today. But we do have now information around which to build. I heard the story that, well, why didn't we spend the money before? Because we didn't feel we were in a position to spend it. We didn't feel, that was, I think all of us around this table felt that would have been a irresponsible move. So, that to me, we just kind of brush that off my back and say, okay, now we have information around which to build. Maybe not to the point of the full 5. I get that we have to learn, we have to grow, we have to see what works before we start pouring money in. But I will tell you, I think from the perspective of our community, one, the difference between 3.43 and 3.75 is relatively minor. And for the majority of people who will be impacted on this, it's not going to be much, it'll be nickels. Thank you. That was a great illustration.
Yes, it was.
And I think, but for the people we serve, I think that little bit of a difference can make a lot of difference moving forward. So that being said, I support the motion this summer.
To keep it at 3.75. Thank you very much for that, Mr. O'Brien. Any other comments?
So I would say, and I made the recommendation we bring both forward to, because I wanted not just the 3 of us to, the entire group would get to weigh in on it, and certainly have respect from the members of our community that have weighed in on both sides of this issue. A year ago today, I would have been proposing we go straight to 0.5. I would have. I think not one of us has said that we have taken into consideration the economic forecast and what's happening across our country and in our community. But if we get into the habit, just like I would not have proposed raising it simply because property values decreased a little bit. So whether property value increased a little or decreased a little every year to go through that exercise, it's not the intent. The intent is, like Mark said, is to have a full tank of gas. I never used the tractor analogy, but I feel good about where we are and where we're moving, and now we'll be able to have gas in the tank to be able to get that tractor up and running on behalf of our children. I have the utmost respect for Mr. Mitchell, and I thought we came to a great compromise last year. And I think we have, by leaving the millage rate as is, taking into consideration what's going on and what hardships people are facing without nickel and diming the council and the services we can provide our children.
Thank you, Mr. Hannah. Ms. McFadden.
I'm just going to repeat two of the statements I made the last meeting for those of the people that weren't here, because I really haven't changed my opinion at all. One is property values in Florida, more than any other state in the nation, yo-yo up and down. And if we're going to go in every time that the property values go up or down, this is going to become very dicey. I'd rather look long-term And if I look long-term and I forecast, I'm not parish. I certainly sat through the Florida Economic Club hearing, and 70% of folks do think there's a recession coming in, and that is usually a huge indicator that a recession is coming. And if we're going to go through another 2008 for a couple of years, I'd rather us think long-term about keeping the rate exactly where it is, so property owners know what it is, and it's not moving up and down like a bouncing bubble. That to me is what's not fair to them. And it will be a harder time for our kids. 2008, kids that went through that still struggle. I mean, it had huge impacts on everything from the kids that went to college, everything else. So, we need to kind of buckle down and think long-term, I think, about this, rather than just short-term of what's going on today.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Any other comments?
Madam Chair, I've got just two quick things. One, in that the issue of consistency for the taxpayer. And this is where my brain goes. When I get my trim notice, I don't know about anybody else in this room, but I don't look at a number. You know what I look at? How much did you pay last year? Dollar amount. How much are you going to pay this year? So that is why my recommendation. That's the only comment I'll make on the issue of the rate. The second thing that I do think is important is, Mr. Barber, you mentioned something about affluent versus not affluent, and that the affluent people, I think you're jumping to a conclusion, maybe a fair conclusion. It's not their kids. I don't think you meant this, and so I'm gonna say it. I don't think any of the people in this room would show up because they're worried about, $1.37 on their tax that would help a child in need. I think what they are doing is holding us accountable, and I appreciate it. And look, I said last year, I want 0.25, and then I'm prepared. By the way, it was a great economy. Everything was rocking along. I love looking at my retirement account, not so much anymore. And I was prepared to go to 0.5. And I remember saying to the superintendent, who, again, sir, I so respect the fact that you've always given me the voice. And considered what I throw out. So I think it's important that we as a community recognize that no one is here to try to take from those who have, to give to those who don't, and nor is anyone here to say, stop taking from me because I don't care about someone with lesser means. Let's leave it at that.
Of course. All right, so I am keeping one eye on the clock because we have to leave the room at 2:00. So do any other final comments before we vote on whether we should keep the millage rate as to where it is, or if we would like to make a change?
Well, the motion is 3.7.
3.75, correct. That's what we're going to be voting on. No other comments. Okay, so it's time to take a vote. So all of those, yes, ma'am.
Do a roll call vote.
Okay, sounds good. All right, Jacinta, will you please do that then? That'll be great.
Dr. Glenn.
I vote to keep it at 0.375.
So it's
yes to the
Favor.
motion.
Favor. That's it. Yes, thank you.
Mr. Mitchell.
Did you come to me last?
What?
You come to me next.
I'm going to order by the room. All right. Ms. Connor.
yes.
Commissioner Cummings.
Yes.
Superintendent Hannah.
Yes.
School Board Chair Jones.
Yes.
Ms. McFadden. Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Mr. Watts.
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
All right, so the yes has it. And so our recommendation is to propose a millage rate of 0.375. Thank you all so very much, and thank you for shepherding us through that. I do want us to now talk about the proposed budget. So do you have any specific recommendations with regards to the fiscal year 2022-23 proposed budget?
It's the committee's recommendation was the budget that's before you. And I'm kind of looking at you, Sika. Is there one or two outstanding? The only thing that we were bringing forward was if it was going to be our recommendation to to reduce the millage rate, leave it the same, that the budget would change in terms of the buckets. But there was no other outstanding issue. So it's exactly the budget committee is recommending. what is before.
Budget. Okay, sounds good. Do we have a motion to accept the budget as is?
Madam Chair, I move acceptance
of the Aye.
budget that's prepared.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, thank you. It's been a motion by Ms. Cummings and second by Mr. I call you Terrence, Mr. Watts. All right. Okay, so now it's time for public comment. Do we have any public comments?
We have one public comment, Jack Levine.
Yes, sir.
All I would say is a word of extremely heartfelt gratitude. Gratitude is something that does not come easily when work's hard. You all have done some wonderful hard work research. Should almost never forget about the research commitment we've made going into the last year. Gratitude for the time and talent that you're bringing to this process. And while nothing, especially across the street at the Capitol, is perfect, you have created an environment in which people are ready, willing, and able to invest in our children. And we're not there yet, but we are getting there. So as an advocate of 43 years, I just want to compliment each of you for the outstanding commitment you are making to this process.
Thank you very much, Mr. Levine. All right, it is, yes, Mr. Jones.
Is there is it by statute or did we make a decision as to how much money we hold in contingency and reserve?
A good question. It is not by statute. Statute says that we have to. There is a practice of the 5% that is used by most governmental entities, which is what we agreed on last year.
Okay.
And that's the reason it's in there at that amount, sir.
Thank you.
If I may, just for the record, we have a policy that says that's what we will hold. So
Well, right, that we voted on last year.
in addition, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we have a motion on the table to approve the current budget as is and a second. I think it's time for us to vote. Do y'all want to do a roll call vote again, Ms.?
Yes.
Okay, please, Ms. Clay.
Dr. Glenn,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes. I can go second.
Connor,
Yes.
Commissioner Cummings,
Yes.
Superintendent Hannah,
Yes.
School Board Chair Jones,
Yes.
Ms. McFadden, Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Mr. Watts,
Yes.
and Judge Miller.
Yes.
All right, so the motion is now passed that the proposed budget is now approved. So thank you all very much.
12 minutes to spare.
12 minutes to spare. So that was awesome. All right. Thank you very much. And I'm really glad that I think we hashed out a lot of this at our previous meeting. So I appreciate the previous conversation, the hard work of the budget committee. Thank you all for bringing that forward. And decisions are hard, but we made them. Yes, sir. Mr. Jones.
I'd also like to add, since we got a little time, I appreciate having the options for the purpose of discussion. I think it shows that we are responsive, as well as flexible. And I'm glad we came to the determination that we did, but being armed with both options, I think is critical. It shows, and then we talk it out, hash it out like any good body should. So I appreciate having the option
Awesome. Thank you very much.
and
for that.
and the explanation for the same.
Well, thank you all very much. And once again for leading us through that conversation. All right, the next item on our agenda are our next meeting dates. Ms. Sika, I'm going to ask you to please just go through these two dates that are on here.
Absolutely, because there's one that's left off. So we have our provider forum. That is where we will meet with providers, businesses, whomever wants to learn more about the information that will be gleaned in the strategic planning session that we'll go into next, as well as the needs assessment, as well as how we think we will move forward with priority funding. On August 1st, we have a program services committee meeting.
I'm sorry, when was that?
July 28th.
July 28th
At 6 p.m.
at 6 p.m. and that will be at the Renaissance Center in Frenchtown on the Plum Street. On August 1st, which is not on here, we have a program services committee meeting. And that meeting is going to be at,
The Watson Building at 4 p.m.
and we'll send that out. Let me also take this time to thank Councilmember Jones for assuming chair of that committee now, since Chair Glenn.
Big shoes.
That position. And then our next governing council meeting will be. Sorry, will be Thursday, August 18th. We did a little bit of a poll and I think we will have enough people to move forward with that meeting. It is an important meeting as we will be looking at draft ITNs for several things that we need to do. We realize some people will have already traveled to the chamber conference and that's fine, but we should be in good shape. So those are our meetings.
And these are available by Zoom. You have to be in person.
Yes, all our meetings have to be in person at 2.
And that one on August is at the Sunshine Health Community Room.
Does everybody know where that is?
August 18th. No, I do not know.
Sunshine Health Community Room is on the south side, and the address is right there. It's a beautiful, that will be our governing council meeting. Listen, you guys know we won't be in our office till October. So we're trying to work it around until we can have our meetings at our office. So in August, that's where we will be.
So in August, we are not at the, we're not at the courthouse, we're not here, we're not at TCC. We will be at the Sunshine Health Community Room. I have no idea what that is either, Mr. Jones, so we'll follow each other and see if we can find it. Yeah.
It's on the south side.
Oh, where Payless Shoe Source used to be.
Yes. Right across from Piggly Wiggly. Piggly Wiggly is over
Oh, it's
here.
there.
Sunshine Health is on the other side.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it and we will be present. Thank you.
So, and I'm looking at Jacinta, but I'm also looking at Holly because I'm never sure who I'm getting the invite from. Have those been, are these now updated and in?
Yes.
All invites come from me.
Very
If you do
nice.
not see it, feel free to reach out to me and I'll make sure you have it.
Except, yeah. all
We're
right.
trying to cancel the ones Holly did.
Those should all
Those
get
are the ones Jacinta. So all of Holly's are gone. If you have anything on your calendar from Holly that is not ESS, delete it.
It would have actually been from info at, so anything from
delete it.
info at is old, that email address.
All right, so I have on my Outlook calendar, CSC Provider Forum next Thursday, the 28th, 6 o'clock at the Renaissance Center.
You got it.
And then they said the next one was August 1st.
Well, you don't need
You're
that
not
one.
on
You're
that
not on
one.
program.
But August 18th,
August 18th.
yeah.
August 18th,
2 p.m.
You should have it on.
PM, Sunshine Health Community Center, South Monroe Street. You go, girl. Cancel. Tallahassee Community College, which is where I went last time.
Get them off of there.
When's the
Nothing
next
is
one?
at TCC moving forward.
What was the next one after the 18th?
That's all we have. That's as far as we got today. Yeah.
Have your trim hearings, and those are the first ones on the 8th at 5:15. That should also.
Those should already, those first two should already be
And
on.
that's also at Sunshine Health.
8th of what?
True Village.
Eighth of August.
You come, but you don't. get the vote.
But you vote on the budget because.
August?
You all have acronyms too? Oh, September.
Truth and Millage.
All right, we're gonna move forward. I'm sorry, because we're 6 minutes out.
I'll also just point to you that on our website, if you're ever looking for like if you just want a list and just to check against your calendar, it's always, and then we update it at the end of this meeting every month. And then whenever Jacinta tells me to, that it also gets updated then. But it's on our website. If you, under calendar, there's a link that says upcoming events and meetings. If you click on that, it's a printout as opposed to an interactive calendar, if you just want to check it.
And when in doubt, email Jacinta. All right, that's the rule of thumb, right?
Or call.
Okay, so September 8th is the first trim hearing. Are we 5:15? 5:15, Sunshine Health. September 22nd is the second trim meeting, Sunshine Health, 5:15. The first one is to resolve for the proposed. The second one is to pass the resolution approving the millage rate and the budgets. Judge Miller will not participate in the millage rate, but will participate in the budget approval.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much. So that's the agenda items for our next meeting. Is that correct? Because we need to right now set the agenda for our next meeting, which will be in August.
Yeah, we have a few things, so we can probably skip over that for the purposes of this. We'll have some ITNs we're working on, that kind of stuff, so.
Okay, so, all right, so agenda items to be determined as of right now. We don't have anything designated right now. And with that, we are at the place where we are open for member comments.
Yes, Madam Chair, allow me to provide acknowledgement on behalf of all of us and congratulating our superintendent for a job well done this past year. As you saw, all of our schools enjoyed enormous learning gains. And once again, we are better than average. We are a B school district, just a point away from being an A. And what I know is significant about that is because in spite of what we knew was enormous learning loss, the superintendent purposely directed resources to all of our schools to mitigate those challenges, equipping our teachers with what they needed. And subsequently, we are very, very proud of all of our schools. And we're particularly proud of the Pine View Elementary School in District 3. An F to a B. Congratulations. Congratulations to them both.
Thank you very much. Thanks for bringing that forward, Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Did I pay for your lunch?
Steak and shrimp if you.
Any other member comments at this time? Mr.
I was just gonna say, just looking around, this is my first meeting, of course, and some of the acronyms I'm learning the process, but I'm very grateful to be here. A lot of the members on this board, I've known you through other contexts of the situations, and I'm very privileged to participate, learn, and very grateful that Judge Schuster drew my lot to be here. And so he's been a great mentor, and definitely looking forward to participating and contributing to this very critical.
Happy to have you here.
So you have big shoes to fill. I mean, his shoes may not be that big, but he was.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
That's a lot to go there.
From the very beginning, he was all in.
But he pulled out a red carpet for you.
Yes, he did.
And so we greet you with great anticipation. And he talked about what a great leader you have been, great public servant. And so we look forward to you being a part of our conversations.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
I did have one suggestion.
Oh, please.
For our public comment, I think it'd be helpful when someone is finishing up rather than just, okay, your time has ended. I think kind of let them finish that last comment, because we always want people to feel like they can comment and not abruptly just, that's it, your time is up.
Okay.
So.
Will do. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Thank you.
And I was going to ask to be the timekeeper for the next.
I know, because you gave me the evil eye.
You're not the one.
It looked to me like, can I get you to cut them off, please? Yeah.
Want me to get him? Remember now, he's been sitting in school board meetings for the last, since COVID began.
We're still streaming.
Okay, yes, thank you very much. We appreciate that. All right.
Maybe we adjourn.
Well, I think I'm going to second that motion. All right. So thank you all so much. One other thing before we go, two happy belated birthdays to two wonderful women, Miss Cummings and also Miss Greens just recently had birthdays. Thank you. Awesome. All right, and with that, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you. What does that make her?
So we're going to take a 5 to 10